So the topic for tonight is we want to talk about location-based music services. So I'm actually not an expert on this, so it's, I mean, that's why I'm only moderating. I can't tell you, but hopefully you can tell me how this works. So this is the idea. I was thinking about how back in the days before the interweb, we would discover and consume a lot of music locally. We go to the local record shop to find music, right? The guy would tell us what to buy, and we buy a CD or buy a record or whatever we bought, and we listen to it there. We would hang out with friends locally in the pub, talk about music, and see what's out there. We would go to gigs together, of course, also locally. And also there's sort of, it seems to me that local radio stations, I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but it's always like in Europe anyway, they're quite important when it comes to music discovery. Then we have the internet, which was great, because everything is suddenly not local anymore. It's international, right? And you speak to people all over the world, and you get bands recommended, and artists recommended, and music recommended from all over the world, which is fantastic. But then more recently, so this is kind of the third part, is that I see these services out there that kind of focused on your location. So I have an iPhone, I also have an iPad, and it asks me all the time, do you want this app to use your current location, to give you recommendations. Foursquare is one example, we can talk about it in a minute. So I thought, if this means if we go back to sort of a local activity, does that mean music discovery and music consumption should also go back to a local level? Maybe there are already lots of services and you're going to tell me now that there's all these services already and then we can all go home. Or maybe there's a need for us to be more active in this sort of local music discovery and digital local music discovery and consumption area. Okay, so I thought to sort of kick this off, I'm mentioning 4 services that do that already. So Foursquare, for everyone that's not using it, is it only available on your iPhone or also on other, I don't know, maybe it's also on the BlackBerry as well, yeah? So you're on your mobile phone and you are somewhere like here, and I can check in into this location. The term is checking in. So I tell the service that I'm here right now, and all my friends on Foursquare, they can see I just checked in here. And there's also like a sort of a gaming mechanism in there. If I check in here the most, and I become the mayor, and you get like points and stuff. It's a bit complicated. But it's quite appealing for people to use that, and you can also share. So when you check in here, you can share that on Twitter, so all your friends on Twitter can see that I just checked into Singapore. This is something which is not specific to music, that's just I check in here, but I hear, and I haven't actually seen it, that this could be used for music applications as well. One obvious example, if you're at a gig, you can check into that gig. What happens then? You meet other people at a gig, or the band gives you something, or you can buy the recording, I don't know, there's lots of things that can happen. I know that other brands like shopping centers and whatever they're called, Sears in the Bay and whatever it is, they're starting to think about that. If you're at the Bay and you check in there, maybe you get a discount off your next purchase. I don't know, could be that we could do that with music as well. There's a startup in London called Songkick that also is very focused on location because they do gig recommendations. You can tell Songkick what kind of music you're into, and then based on that they give you recommendations on what kind of gigs you should attend in your location. And it's also quite interesting when you're traveling, because you can have like multiple locations, so you can say, actually, this weekend I'm going to be in Toronto, what bands are playing in Toronto that weekend that I might be interested in based on my music taste. Last FM, where I worked, does something very similar as well, as part of the whole thing, because it tracks what you're listening to. Based on that, you can get gigs recommended. This is actually quite cool because you can get gigs recommended by artists that you already know, or artists that are similar to what you already know. This is kind of where it's interesting, right? Where you can discover new bands that are playing in your area. And there's also a service called Soundtracker, and it's a bit complicated, but it's also an application, I think, just on the iPhone, and you can listen to music on there, and you can tag certain stations or tracks, or artists, I think, with your location. So you can go in and say, okay, I'm now listening to Radiohead, and I want to say, okay, this location is kind of specific to that song somehow. And then if my friends on Soundtracker come down here, they can see that I was here before and tag this location with Radiohead, and they can listen to something similar. They're kind of starting up right now. I spoke to them last week. They have some interesting ideas. I don't think they're 100% there yet, but they really focus on your location when it comes to music discovery. Yeah. So, I guess to kick it off is like, since we're talking about local stuff, what's happening? I'm not local, right? I don't know what's happening here, what's happening locally.